Hello everybody and welcome to my Dota 2 February 17, 2013 visual patch notes. You could create teams before and play with your friends, but never in a separate matchmaking like now. This is awesome because you can create a team and you can play in matchmaking and you can see where you stand against other teams. An option to choose which language you speak should help with team communication issues. Alchemist's unstable concoction is a physical damage, so it should have been damaging through magic immune targets. However, that wasn't the case, so they fixed that, as well as when targeting self. Batrider's Sticky Napalm has been adjusted so that it no longer applies to magic immune units. However, it can no longer be removed by magic immunity as well. Bloodseeker's ultimate Rupture was dealing a low amount of damage every 10th of a second, where it should have been dealing higher amounts of damage every quarter of a second. In addition, Rupture can no longer be countered by using bottle and potions during the ultimate. Darkseer's Ion Shell ability can no longer be cast on ancient classified creeps such as Spirit Bear and Warlock's Golem. Doom's ultimate Doom now disables the Truestrike capabilities of MKB as well as the mini bash, like it should have. Dragon Knight's Breathe Fire ability has had two things fixed with it. First thing was its travel time, which was too slow, and the second thing was an issue where if Dragon Knight was in dragon form and directly adjacent to an enemy hero while casting Breathe Fire, it would miss. The slow values for Gyrocopter's ultimate cooldown were apparently swapped, so they now should reflect the correct values as stated in the tooltip. Keeper of the Light's recall ability can no longer recall an ally if Keeper of the Light dies before it finishes casting. As you can see here by this demonstration, Lone Druid Spirit Bear's Entangling Claws can no longer activate on creeps that are classified as ancients, such as Visage Familiars, Ancient Creep Camps, and Warlock's Golem. Before this patch, Medusa's Split Shot would hit units that were nightmared, but they fixed that. In addition to Split Shot, Medusa's Mana Shield ability will now properly block incoming damage from things like Death Ward, Plague Wards, Serpent Wards, a lot of wards, and Wildkin's Tornado. Prior to this patch, Morphling's morph abilities, such as Morph Strength and Morph Agility, were able to be disrupted by things like Cyclone and Purge from Diffusal Blade. There were a few issues fixed with Shadow Fiend's Soul Gathering capabilities. The first one was his ability to gain souls while dead. That shouldn't happen. And the second was his ability to gain souls from illusions. That also shouldn't happen. Spectre's Spectral Dagger was sometimes creating an invisible trail that you couldn't follow, which was a big problem. Thank goodness they fixed this. Troll Warlord has received pseudo-random distribution support for his bash, and although I could speak at length about this topic, what you need to know is that his bash will now proc more often and more regularly. Troll's Whirling Axes ability was affecting Roshan with the slow and the blind, and this was never intended. Any form of cleave damage, whether it be from Sven's Great Cleave or from an enemy hero with Battle Fury, will no longer affect Visage Familiars. The AoE damage caused by Flaming Fist ability of Warlock's Golem was affecting ethereal units, but no longer does that. Although not entirely fixed, as most bug fixers would agree, Weaver's Time Lapse ability now removes more debuffs than it had previously. Note that Venomancer's Poison Sting is not one of these. Witch Doctor's Paralyzing Casks ability will no longer bounce and stun enemy couriers. Speaking of couriers, there's been quite a few fixes in this patch involving how we interact with them. The courier usage experience should be a lot less buggy and a lot more responsive, thanks to the changes. One particular fix, which I know a lot of mid players are really going to appreciate, are the interaction with the bottle. Previously, if you sent back your bottle, you had to move it a little bit further into the well to guarantee that it would fill. At this point, however, you can just simply send it back for your items and it will refill while collecting your items. Prior to this patch, orb effects such as Klink's Searing Arrows required that you move 24 units closer to the target when compared to the auto attack. As you can see here though, it's been fixed. Slark's Dark Pact now removes a variety of debuffs that it hadn't previously, including Sticky Napalm, Shadow Strike, Venomous Gale, Poison Nova, and Viper Strike. The fixes that were done to Dark Pact now apply to Tidehunter's Kraken Shell. The times for which night and day happen now reflect original Dota. Every 6 minutes, it will change from night to day, or vice versa. This should make it much easier to keep track of time and the day and night status. Alright guys, backswing issues have been fixed for a lot of heroes, and this makes me really excited because it brings the heroes back to what they felt like in original Warcraft. And if you're unfamiliar with backswing, it's basically the animation that happens after a spell effect. So you have the front swing, which is the animation that happens before the spell effect takes place, and then you have the backswing, which is the animation that happens after the spell takes place. You might be thinking, what does this mean and why should I care? Well, why don't you take a look at Lion and note that he's able to cast Earth Spike and immediately move right after. If you played Lion at all, you know that that was not the case before this patch. He was feeling very sluggish. The same can be said for Batrider, as he can now cast Sticky Napalm and immediately cancel the backswing animation. It is a common misconception that Eye of Skadi will not stack with lifesteal modifiers on melee heroes. This is most likely the case because the Eye of Skadi tooltip says so. However, the tooltip will most likely be corrected in the future. Orb of Venom now has the same stacking behavior with lifesteal that Eye of Skadi did, which means Orb of Venom will stack with lifesteal on melee and ranged heroes. Veil of Discord can now be applied to magic immune units. It can no longer be dispelled by Purge, MKB, or Cyclone. Bloodstone can no longer gain charges while you're dead. As long as the items that you drop on the ground are non-sharable, they can no longer be destroyed by your own teammates. If you dominate a creep that is currently casting a channeling spell, the spell will be cancelled. Silencer has been enabled in Captain's mode, and in the following week will be available in the tournament version. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you would like to support me in my further endeavors, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It helps me a lot more than you might realize.